Good morning and welcome to Worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am Worship Associate Sue Brinkmeyer. I use she, her pronouns, and I welcome you, whether you are here in the sanctuary or joining us online. Whether you've been attending this church for decades or it's your first time here, I am truly glad you have joined us because it is the people that make this place so very special. We are a community made up of folks with many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders, and all are welcome here. With our minister, Pastor Eric Halseth, taking a well-deserved day off, we are pleased to welcome to our pulpit today the Venerable Kusala Bikshu. Kusala is an, yes indeed, give it up. Well-deserved, yes. They are happy to have you back, as am I. Kusala is an American-born monk of the Zen tradition of Vietnam. When he took his novice vows in 1994, he was given the Dharma name Kusala Ratana Karuna, or Skillful Jewel of Compassion. How's that for a name? Whoa. In 1996, when he received full ordination as a Bikshu, or monk, he was given the name Tik Tam Tien, Heavenly Heart Mind. He received his BA in Buddhist Studies from the College of Buddhist Studies in Los Angeles, and his biography lists achievements and activities and awards that go on for quite a few pages and demonstrate the qualities of skill, heart, mind, compassion that are in his Buddhist names. Just two tiny examples. For 4 years, he gave presentations on Buddhism and meditation in the LA County Central Juvenile Hall. And for 1 year, he taught blues harmonica at a juvenile probation camp in Malibu. We'll get to hear a bit of that harmonica later in the service. We are so grateful you are here with us today, Kusala. Yes, we are. And you may have noticed as you came in that Zach Spencer is not at our piano today. Zach is away helping a high school choir at a festival. And we are very grateful and pleased to have with us at our piano Richard Weiss. Welcome, Richard. And it wouldn't be Sunday service if I didn't have announcements. I believe, since this is the third Sunday, the People of Color group will be meeting today. Is that right? Yes, okay, 11:30 in the green room. And then today, 12 to 3 in the sanctuary, you can come for Theater of Social Action, an empowering hands-on way to solve real-life problems. The topic for exploration today is bullying. No acting experience needed, and all ages are welcome. Also today, from 4 to 5:30, you can come learn to sing simple songs everyone can learn by ear and then sing them together at future rallies, as they did at recent No Kings event. I didn't notice where in the church that is happening, but see Jane Turcott. She is, I think, its leader. Or check UUCV this week, which maybe will have it and I just didn't see it. Friday, April 24, this Friday, Parents' Night Out and Movie Night will be showing in Berg Hall at 5:30, Over the Hedge, and at 7 p.m., Wally. And in the West Alcove at 6, they'll be showing The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Oh my goodness. And next Sunday, April 26, 11 to 12:30 here in the sanctuary, Sarah Gibb Millspaw from the UU Pacific Western Regional staff will be here to help strengthen our time of with our transitional minister. As we go from Reverend Dana to Pastor Eric and beyond, we'll help UUCV's leadership set priorities and plans for the contract ministry. So planning our future, helping us be strong and bold next week. Saturday, May 2nd at 5 p.m. in Berg Hall, there will be an auction event you can enjoy even if you didn't bid on it at the auction in October. You'd RSVP to Gary Zinnick, pay your $20 at the door, and then you can feast on all you can eat chili, both meat and vegan, cornbread salad and dessert, while you listen to music from our 2 house bands, Don't Fret, and I've Seen Better Elephants. Singing will be encouraged, and everyone is welcome. No one will be turned away for lack of funds, and children under 10 will get in for free. One last announcement. The Women's Retreat at Camp de Venerable Pines will be May 1 to 3. You can register now, and scholarships are available. See Lily. Or it says see Cappy Paulson for more info. So, lots more stuff happening at this church. We're very active and involved. Read all about it. UUCV this week, our email bulletin that comes home to you in your email. If you don't get it, sign up there in the front. Our land acknowledgement today. Let me take a moment to acknowledge that we are on land that has been stewarded for at least the past 11,000 years by the Chumash of Ventura. May we honor their ancestors, elders, and descendants as they continue their deep spiritual and cultural connections to these lands and waters. And now, come with me into this sacred space this morning with the many hopes you bring in your hearts. Hopes for inspiration, for comfort, for renewal. In this time and space, may inspiration water our thirsty souls. May comfort blossom in the gardens of our hearts and bring us sweet relief. May renewal course through us all as electric energy, as serene as a nourishing meal, as contagious as joy, and bring us vitality and rejuvenation. Together, we are here in this sacred space.
Good morning, everyone. I am Worship Associate Xenia Young, and as we light our chalice today, may it awaken the spark of possibility within all of us and bring forth everything good that is waiting to bloom. Friends at home are invited to take a moment and light a chalice of your own or a candle as Sue lights ours here in the sanctuary. May the chalice flame bring us together as we begin this service. Our call to worship this morning is a poem by one of our favorites, Mary Oliver, and the title of the poem is Messenger. My work is loving the world. Here the sunflowers, there the hummingbird, equal seekers of sweetness. Here the quickening yeast, there the blue plums, here the clam deep in the speckled sound. Are my boots old? Is my coat torn? Am I no longer young and still half perfect? Well, let me keep my mind on what really matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. The Phoebe, the delphinium, the sheep in the pasture, and the pasture itself, which is mostly rejoicing since all the ingredients are here, which is gratitude, to be given a mind and a heart, and these body clothes, a mouth with which to give shouts of joy to the moth and the wren, to the sleepy dug-up clam, telling them all over and over how it is that we live forever. Come, let us worship together.
please rise in body or spirit as you are able and join in singing our hymn, 1000, Morning Has Come. Now, I have the pleasure of inviting forward any children or young at heart to come. Oh, yay, we have some young ones to come and join me up front for a story. And as you come, please pick up groceries for 805 or Poder Popular. I forgot what the 805 is called. Together we share, and for this we live. You I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Yay! Woohoo! I love that. The generosity abounds, and joyous to see all of our children here. Thank you for joining me for the story. Thank you, thank you. I want to tell you a story of a very special flower. The lotus, there it is in the image. There will be some images up on the screen. You might not think that a flower would have much to teach us, but this one does. You see, a lotus flower grows in places where other plants can't, where there's water and lots of mud. It starts as a seed and plants itself deep in the mud. Its roots reach down into the mud and hold on, and it starts growing up toward the light above the surface of the water. It's not easy growing where it's dark and muddy, and there's lots of things that should keep the lotus from growing all the way up to the sunlight above the surface of the water. But it doesn't give up. It seems to be saying to itself, each struggle makes me stronger. And every challenge brings me closer to the light. And it keeps reaching it up reaching up, and at long last it breaks the surface of the water, and then it stretches out its petals and opens fully into the light. And there's no sign of the mud from which it came. It's just this beautiful flower floating on the water in peace. And the people, when they first saw that lotus, they knew it had much to teach them. From it, they could learn not to give up, not to let troubles or mud, the things in life that could hold them down, that their struggles would not last, and they, if they just keep reaching toward the light, would come out into the light. And so they decorated their temples with lotuses. They held festivals to the lotus flower that had so much to teach them. And they understood that what was true of the lotus was true of them too. That having troubles and struggling through them made them stronger. And they just needed, like the lotus, to keep reaching toward the light and to let the beauty inside them blossom. And so, maybe if you have a hard day someday, do you ever have a hard day? I hear a yes. Oh, I got some yeses, yeah. All right, maybe remember the lotus, and to help you do that, let's see if we can, all of us, maybe act out the journey of the lotus. Let us scrunch ourselves down as if we're a little seed in the mud. Yeah? And then let us, feeling our roots growing beneath us, planting ourselves, let us begin to reach toward the light, toward up, toward the surface of the water, reaching up. Finally, we break the surface, and the light, we open up, we blossom. We are our full selves. Yay, I see you all. You are beautiful, blossoming flowers. Let us sing our children out to their wisdom education. Form a bridge of love in the center, if you will, as we sing them beautiful lotus flowers that they are on their way.
Every Sunday, our practice is to give away our entire collection, gifting it to an organization doing important and meaningful work in the larger community, or to funds that support people in need in our own church. This practice is one of the many ways that we live our values and put them into action, sharing what we have to care for one another. Folks present in the sanctuary can text to give by following the number on the screen, or can drop a check or cash in the box on the back wall of the sanctuary, either during the offertory music or after the service. Our offering today goes to the nonprofit organization known as Family to Family, which provides the commercial kitchen and dining room and many of the supplies so that at least 30 different groups of volunteers can come together to provide lunch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, breakfast every Saturday and Sunday, and dinner every Wednesday of the year. Our church volunteers there on the first Monday of every month and provides a meal to some 120 people who have no place to cook their own food or perhaps no food to cook at all. They come and they are greeted with love and compassion and given delicious, nutritious food. All of this is possible because of the nonprofit Family to Family, which provides the space and the kitchen and the electricity, water, everything. Our offering today goes to help keep the kitchen and dining room open so that 312 meals can be prepared and served each year to people who are hungry and have nowhere else to go for these meals. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do.
And now we will be graced by Kusala with gorgeous harmonica. It's going to be gorgeous, right?
Maybe.
All right.
We'll have to see. Okay. Here we go.
We celebrate the generosity of this congregation whose giving spirit helps create a world just a little more just and a little more loving. Each week, we take a few moments to pause, to notice what is shaping our lives right now. When we share these parts of our lives, we remember something important. We are not alone. Today, we place stones in water, and each stone holds a small piece of whatever it is that we're carrying. And as it touches the surface, ripples move outward, reaching further than we can even see, reminding us how connected we truly are to one another. May we feel those ripples of care, and may we remember that this community holds us in all that we bring. And may we keep showing up for one another with kindness, compassion, and love. If you have a joy or sorrow and you would like to share it, please submit it through the link on our website or through our Thursday email UUCV this week. If it's received by 8 p.m. on Saturday, it will normally be served on that Sunday service. Sue will now place one final stone in the water for all that has been spoken and for all that remains quietly in our hearts. May we be grateful for all that awakens and guides us on this shared path, and may we be mindful of the ways we walk beside one another, in joy, in sorrow, and in all the spaces between.
Please remain seated as we sing together our meditative hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
Our reading today is an excerpt from Buddhism in the Springtime by Daniel Scharpenberg. Spring started almost 1 month ago. It is a time for reinventing ourselves and reaffirming our commitment on the spiritual path. When we see nature coming back from its wintry slumber, it's a little easier to think of ourselves coming back, changing and transforming. Am I really the same person that I was when I was born so many years ago? Not in any way that I can see. Everything has changed since then. My body, my mind have both changed so much because life itself has changed. The nature of the self is to change, like a spring dew that is present in the morning and gone in the afternoon. That's how we are. And spring is a good time for letting go too. The world is letting go of the cold weather and moving into a new season. We can do the same thing. We can let go of the stories we tell ourselves that hold us back, the limitations we put on our own lives. Things like, I'm not good enough, I can't handle that. Nature can let go of the snow and ice in the same way we can let go of our delusion. We can release it and let the Dharma unfold in our heart like a flower blooming in the spring or a lotus rising from the mud.
I invite you now into a time of meditation. Place your feet upon the floor. Close your eyes if you wish and breathe in and breathe out, noticing your breath, both as it comes and as it goes. Spirit of life within and around us, be present to our collective yearning for renewal in this moment. We pause to acknowledge the many challenges of life and send love and care within and out into the world, a silent meditation.
Okay, good to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm going to be talking about Buddha's birthday, but it's celebrated on April 8th because 700 years ago, they changed the calendar from lunar to Gregorian. They also added the enlightenment of the Buddha in December. So aren't the Buddhists lucky? We have something to celebrate in December while the Christians have their celebration. And we have something to celebrate in April while the Christians have theirs. A major difference, though, I found was the idea of rebirth. Jesus came from the grave and went to heaven to be with his Father. And for a Buddhist, we find that heaven is ultimately unsatisfactory because it always ends. Everything is impermanent in Buddhism, even heaven. So what the Buddha said is, I do not teach how to live forever. I teach how not to be reborn. Because every time we're reborn, we get old, we get sick, we die, and in between all of that, we suffer. So birth isn't as good as it could be. But we're all lucky to be here because what a journey this is. When you think about all the planets that don't have life, and you think about all the time we weren't here, trillions of years, and then for some reason we all showed up. We're here 50 or 60 years, and we never show up again. What the heck? What's the meaning? So I guess while we're here, we should make the best of it. Now I've got to warn you about this story. I was giving a talk in Leisure World, Seal Beach. And one of the guys in the audience said, "What a stupid story that is." I thought Buddhism was about wisdom and compassion. I thought Buddhism was about enlightenment and nirvana. Where did that story come from? Why do they have that story in Buddhism? And I said to him, think about a tree, and the tree has a bark, and the tree has a core. And all these little fantasy stories that are represented in Buddhism are there because they're sort of interesting and fun, and we don't have Marvel characters 2,600 years ago. So we had this wonderful story, and the thing about the story is you don't forget it because it's so unusual. So if we only had the core teachings of the Buddha, it would have died out many centuries ago because it's really pretty boring. But the bark of the tree are the stories, and those are exciting and different and easy to remember. And you don't have to practice anything. You just have to have the story. So the story goes like this. The Buddha's mom, who was a queen at the time, Queen Maya, had a dream. She dreamed of a white elephant with 6 tusks. And the elephant went into the side of her body, and she became pregnant. Wow. Now, a few months later, she gave birth to Siddhartha out of the same side the elephant went into. And then Siddhartha stood up on the earth for the first time and took 7 steps, and under his feet a lotus blossom bloomed. And a sweet rain fell from the heavens, a sweet tea, if you will. And he pointed to the heavens, and he pointed to the earth. And he was in between both of them. And He lived for 80 years. Now you might say, but you know, he was born, he did the steps, the whole thing. It was because he was special. He was unusual. This was his last rebirth. He had been reborn many, many times. And he proclaimed, I'll never be reborn again. So he was sort of excited about that because he never had to suffer again in the same way he had in all those previous births. So some of the interesting facts, if you will. Now these are ancient facts, 2,600 years ago, so I'll take that into consideration. One of the things he became aware of was when he and Shana, his charioteer, went out into the streets of the city for the first time. Now he had been kept secluded from the realities of his life. There were only young, vibrant people around him all the time. If somebody got sick, they had to leave. Only healthy people surrounded him. He never saw a dead person. He looked at life as being, how wonderful this is, how lucky I am. So Chana and Siddhartha got into the chariot and went through the streets of the city and came upon a really old person. Now, I'm 77, and I think of myself as not being old, but when I look in the mirror, it just sort of, the reality hits me, you know? You ain't 20 any longer. And Siddhartha was looking at all these people. He said, Chana, what's wrong with them? Are they all sick? And Chana said, oh no, they're not sick. They're old. And everybody that lives long enough will get old. And Siddhartha was sort of reflective after that. He understood that if he lived long enough, he'd have to get old too. And then they went through the city some more, and they saw this really sick person, this terrible, suffering and in pain. And Siddhartha said to Chana, how old is he? Why does he look like that? And Chana said, no, he's not old, he's sick. And everybody that lives long enough will get sick, which is why we need health care. So Siddhartha reflected on that and said, that means I'm going to have to get sick too. There's nothing I can do about it. And they continued through the streets of the city, and they saw this really dead person, just sort of lying there. And Siddhartha said, wow, that guy is really sick. What does he have? And Chana said, he has death. And everybody that lives long enough will have to die. One of the things I like about Facebook, I'm on there every day, please visit my Facebook page. They have this really cool thing now that they have celebrities and actors and actresses, and they have them when they were young, and then they have them after they're dead, and they have these little wings on the back that identifies them as not being alive any longer. And it's just amazing how many people die. What the heck? And they all look so nice in their prime. And they were stars and celebrities, and everybody cherished them. And then you see them at 70 and 80, and you can't even recognize them any longer. And they always point that out in the post. You're not going to be able to know this person. You can't recognize this person. And then you just scroll down to see who he is or she is, and you go, wow. Now, I always sort of felt bad about that because they had something special when they were youthful, and they lost it. But you know what? That gave them freedom. Looking like they do at 60, 70, or 80 gives them freedom. People don't recognize them. They can go shopping again. They can go bowling again. Nobody knows who the heck they are. What a wonderful thing to have happen later in life after being a celebrity. And everybody wants part of you, an autograph, a picture, all that stuff. So it's not that bad to get old. And it's not that bad to die. Because if you're on the 405 freeway and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and there's bumper-to-bumper cars, you might say to yourself, I'm glad I don't have to live forever. This is terrible. Now they continued through the streets of the city, and they saw this guy all dressed in white. Pleasant face, peaceful, serene, in the midst of all the suffering the future Buddha had just seen. And so Siddhartha says to Channa, why does he look like that? Why isn't he affected by all the suffering I've seen today? And Channa said, he's a religious person. He's trying to find inner peace because he realizes there's no peace in the outer world, only in the inner world. And I think that planted a seed in Siddhartha that one day he would be a religious person. Now, they had some wise men come over at the behest of his dad, the king, to try to figure out what his future would look like. And they all said the same thing. He's either going to be a great ruler or he'll be a great religious man. We don't know which. Okay. Now, you might think to yourself, how did he get started? Why would he leave his family? He had a son named Rahula. Now, if you don't know what Rahula means, it means fetter or impediment, which is not normally what you'd name your kid. But in the story of the Buddha, it works well. So at the age of 35, he left his wife and child and said, I'm going to go find the answer to suffering, and I'll come back after that. So he went out into the jungles and forests of India and Nepal and found gurus and did meditation and he did renunciation and he did all the stuff he needed to do. And he was almost there. He was almost enlightened, but not quite. So he sat beneath the Bodhi tree, the tree of enlightenment, and he sat there. And that enlightenment moment is celebrated now in December because the Japanese changed their calendar because they wanted to be more modern. Now, here he is, the only enlightened person on earth at that time. And he wasn't sure how he was going to present all this experience and knowledge and wisdom that he had just experienced. So he took a little time off, sort of enjoyed his freedom from suffering. And then he looked back into the world, and everybody was still suffering. So he started his ministry, if you will, and he started to tell people that life is ultimately unsatisfactory. He didn't have to convince them. They already knew that. He said, I have found the answer. The answer is nirvana. And I have found the way to get to nirvana, the Eightfold Path. So he would talk to everybody and they would listen. And sometimes they would listen and understand what he was saying because they've been practicing meditation in other forms, and they became enlightened, and they got enlightened, and they got enlightened, and it was just wonderful. Slowly but surely, a lot of people were getting enlightened. Except they had a problem. And the problem was the Buddha at that time had a bunch of monks who followed him and were his students, and it would help others, but they didn't have any women. They only had men, because this was India 2,600 years ago, and women weren't looked at as being equal. Wow. That wouldn't happen today. So the Buddha's stepmother, because his birth mother died, stepmother took over. The Buddha's stepmother lost her stepson the Buddha to enlightenment, lost her king, her husband, to death, and she was all alone. And apparently, 2,600 years ago, if you're all alone and a woman in India, it's not good. You need to have a guy, which is sort of, I don't know, that's how it worked back then. And so she went to the Buddha and said, I want to be enlightened. I want to be a nun. I want to practice. Can you ordain me? And he said, no, I can't, because my teachings are too important. There are no other women who have been ordained as a monastic. I can't be the first to ordain women. And so she was really disappointed because she had raised him, gone through all the stuff mothers and stepmothers go through. And he's refused to ordain her. And then he went to the next village, and she went to the next village and asked again, can you ordain me? No, I'm sorry. My teachings are too important. I can't do it. He goes to the next village. She goes to Ananda, his right-hand monk, and cousin, as it turns out, and said, the Buddha won't ordain me. Can you help me? And Ananda said, yes, I'll take care of it for you. Wow, pretty confident, that Ananda. So they went to the third village, and Ananda went to the Buddha and said, why can't you ordain your stepmother? And he said, because no other women are ordained. I can't be the first. And then Ananda said, can women become enlightened? And the Buddha said, yes, of course. Well, why can't they be ordained? The Buddha said, okay, I'll ordain her. She was the first nun. She was the first nun. He finally gave in because it wasn't about gender, it was about enlightenment. There's a wonderful book called the Therigatha. It's available online. You might be able to find a PDF. It's at Amazon. These are Buddhist women poem, ordained women, nuns, the poems of them from 2,600 years ago. And it's just fascinating to read what they experienced in their ordination and after their ordination. Therigatha might be interesting to you. Okay, so the Buddha had this whole thing going on, and then he had to die. Even the Buddha had to die. Christ died, the Buddha died, everybody dies. But the Buddha was sort of looking forward to it because he realized this was going to be his last lifetime. And then he would reside in nirvana after his death. Now, I don't know what the heck that means. I don't know what nirvana is. I don't know how it feels. I've never met anybody I thought was enlightened or achieved nirvana, so I don't know. But apparently, it's a substitute for Christian heaven. You sort of go there, and you never go away. Eternal might be the wrong word, but it's forever. Okay, so you go, okay, so how did he die? He was invited to a person's home for dinner because they were roaming mendicants. They lived on the generosity of others. They were given food every day, which is why they only ate twice a day. They ate in the morning after sunrise, and they ate before noon. And I asked my teacher, why did they only eat twice? Well, all the people had to fix the food for them, so afternoon, they got some time off until it was time to cook for them again. I said, oh, that makes sense. Okay. So this was an afternoon meal, and the Buddha was invited, and he sat down, and he got food poisoning. Now, in the ancient texts, they're not sure if it was mushrooms, or something else. What was it that killed him? We don't know. But he had to die. So he was dying. He wasn't feeling very good. But because he was the Buddha, he wasn't suffering. He was just sort of, getting ready to die. And I love this part. He says, I have to die now because I'm sick and I'm old and I'm going to die. Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm not going to be here and we don't know when the next Buddha is going to show up. So nobody had a question. Can you believe that? You figured some of the monks or nuns would have a question. Well, what did you mean about that? Do you think that'll happen? Nothing. And he died. And then after he died, 18 different schools of Buddhism arose in the world because they all thought they knew what the Buddha meant. Ain't that the truth? Isn't that how life works? You know, now we only have a couple left. We have number one, Theravada, which is the doctrine of the elders, pretty much what the Buddha practiced. We have the Mahayana. Mahayana is the great vehicle. These are sort of more liberal, if you will. I like to think of Theravada as being Catholic and Mahayana as being Protestant. And then we have the Tibetan Buddhists, the Vajrayana. I like to think of them as being Unitarian. And the song was perfect. That was Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel in the lotus, our Buddha nature. How cool, huh? So we have those three main schools now, and each school thinks they're the best. They think that they have the words of the original Buddha down and have interpreted it and translated it in the real best way. So, you know, that's the problem with religion. Everybody thinks they're right. And the problem with that is everyone is right. There's nothing wrong. There's no wrong things about that. So, April 8th, we got to celebrate the birth of the Buddha. And how we do that is we have a little wooden shrine, and there's a little statue of the baby Buddha, one hand pointing to the heavens, one hand pointing to the earth, and it's in a little bowl, and the little shrine is covered with flowers. Flower festival. Renewal, rebirth. And now we're going through spring, and all this stuff that had sort of atrophied and wasn't growing, it's beautiful now. Colorful, smells nice. Butterflies and bees are just everywhere. It's a great time. And we go up to the little Buddha, and there's sweet tea and a ladle. And you take a ladle of the sweet tea, and you pour it over the Buddha, and you can say to yourself, with this tea, I purify my greed. And then you do it again. You take the tea, and you go over, and with this tea, I satisfy my hatred. Wow, okay. And then one more time, with this tea, I pour it over the baby Buddha. With this tea, I satisfy my ignorance. Turn it into wisdom. Wow. So it's sort of nice to do rites and rituals like that because it's pointed in your direction. It's not really about the baby Buddha at all. It's about you and your potential, your Buddha nature, if you will. So we sort of have that instead of a soul. And a lot of people prefer souls over Buddha nature. Makes sense to me. Yeah. But if you decide that you might have both, that works too. So that's the story of the Buddha being born and as some of the things he did and the wisdom and knowledge he came to understand, and his death that was a blessing to him because he never had to be reborn again. And now we have his teachings, and we get to go to Amazon.com and see all the stuff he talked about and all the commentaries about what he meant. Got to have those in there too. And then we sit down and practice quietly and let it all go, because that won't make you enlightened. That'll just give you something to talk about, which is nice. What gets you enlightened is your practice, what you do, the practice of compassion and wisdom, how you change yourself from a weed into a flower. Thank you for listening, and thanks for the invitation.
Yay. Thank you. Ah, my friends. Please rise again and join us all in singing Just As Long As I Have Breath.
We hope that after the service, you'll stay and join us in Burke Hall. Just follow the crowd through the doors, and you'll find bagels and coffee and tea and folks who are really interested in getting to know you. And if you're new, we have a special place. You look for the sign that says Connecting Table, and there are folks there who are available to answer any questions that may have come up or that you may have about this congregation or our faith in general. So now, will you please read with me the words from the screen as we get ready to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
May those of us who have come together today in mind and heart be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May no problems come to us. May we always find fulfillment. May we also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May the suffering ones be suffering-free, the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief. May the sick find health relief. Thank you.
We go forth in peace.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.